What if the extra weight your body is carrying right now isn't any kind of failure? It's simply a response. There's a term I came across recently that stopped me in my tracks, and I think every midlife woman needs to hear it. It's called love weight, and it might just completely change the way that you see your body right now. Welcome to your daily hit of grace and grit, your quick dose of inspiration to kickstart your day. I'm Courtney Townley, and here is today's hit. So let me start by giving credit where credit's due. I first heard the term love weight through a woman named Naomi, who writes a Substack called Me Time. Her account is centered on the postpartum experience, and she used the phrase love weight to describe what was happening in her own body, the way it was holding a little extra weight while it healed, recalibrated, and reoriented itself around the enormous life shift of having a baby. And I loved it. I loved it so much that I reached out and challenged her to take the concept even further, because this doesn't just apply to postpartum women. It applies to any woman at any stage of life who's in the middle of a big transition, who's healing, who's had to loosen the grip on some of the more rigid behaviors that used to keep her body at a certain weight in order to find more peace, more balance, and more joy. That's love weight. And I think it's one of the most compassionate frameworks that I've ever heard. So I have shared this before on the show, and I think it warrants sharing here again, that I know for me, the leanest weight that I ever was in my life was also my most miserable. I was having to manage so much, so tightly in order to maintain that level of leanness that I lost my peace. I lost my balance. I lost my joy. And I'm really glad that I went there, because ultimately what it taught me was that no level of leanness is worth my peace, is worth my relationships, is worth my joy. So let's get clear on what we're really talking about here, because I don't want this to be a concept that gets misused or misunderstood. So love weight is not an excuse to check out. It's not permission to stop caring about your health. It's simply a recognition, a compassionate, honest recognition that sometimes the body needs to carry a little bit more in order to do its deeper work. Maybe you're someone who's healing from years of chronic restriction. Maybe you're recovering from burnout and your nervous system finally feels safe enough to exhale. Maybe you went through a health scare or a really big loss of some kind. Maybe you went through a divorce. You made a really big move. And your body responded by softening, by holding on a little, by doing what bodies do when they're under pressure and finally allowed to exhale. I know we love to interpret that as our body betraying us, but that is your body being extraordinarily intelligent. So here's the nuance that I want to name, because I think it really matters. For some women, love weight is temporary. The body moves through the transition. It finds its footing, and then things shift again. The weight was a phase, a necessary one, and the body naturally recalibrates. But for others, love weight becomes the new normal. The body lands somewhere different than where it was, and it stays there. And that is just as valid. That landing place might actually be the healthiest your body has ever been, even if it doesn't look the way diet culture told you it should look. And I'm really emphatic about this, that for some people, love weight becomes a new normal, because that was certainly true in my case. I always share my before and after pictures. My before picture of my, extreme leanness versus the body that I inhabit now, which is 20 pounds heavier. I'm happier mentally, emotionally, physically. My relationships are better. I have more peace in my life. I'm able to enjoy my life more. I imagine that this is probably where I'll hold for a really long time, if not forevermore. And look, regardless of which category you're in, because the point isn't to figure out which category you're in. The point is to stop treating your body like it's a crisis that needs to be managed, when it might actually be in a process that needs to be honored. If this concept resonates for you, this concept of love weight, if something in you just exhaled a little bit as we talked about this, I want you to take that in as information. Your body might be asking you for something right now. Not a new protocol, not stricter discipline, but maybe just a little bit more grace. You don't need to know today whether you're experiencing this as a temporary phase or a permanent phase. You don't need to have a plan for it. You just need to stop declaring war on a body that's doing its absolute best. So often we're confusing compassion with complacency. But compassion, which we've talked about so much on this show, is actually the environment that healing requires. And sometimes that healing comes with a little love weight. A quick note before I let you go. I'm 6 months into producing this daily show. It is a tremendous amount of work. I love it, and I'm also going to be honest with you. I am only committed to continuing if I see the podcast growing and making a difference. And the single best thing that you can do is to tell me that this matters to you in some way by sharing the episode with another woman who you think could benefit from listening to it, talking about it on your social media channels if you think it's worthy of sharing on that level. Message me, or better yet, leave a review publicly so people know that this is a show worth listening to. Text it to a friend, send it to your sister, post it somewhere. That kind of word of mouth is everything for an independent podcast that I have never had advertisers for. And I want to keep it that way. So thank you immensely in advance. If this stirred something inside of you, imagine what a whole book of clarity and courage could ignite. The Consistency Code, a midlife woman's guide to deep health and happiness, goes even deeper into the mindset and practices that create real, meaningful change at midlife. Grab your copy today over at theconsistencycode.com and keep the momentum alive.